Hi, everybody. Danny Bader here, and welcome to another episode of our Back to Life podcast. This is season 2, episode 19, with my guest, Dr. Justin Moseley, also known as the Mindset Doctor. Justin is a former chiropractor turned international speaker and coach. He co-founded with his wife one of the largest natural health clinics in Tennessee. And then after surviving a near-death accident that Justin will talk to you about, he shifted from changing lives in a clinic to changing lives from stage and becoming a highly sought-after speaker and a coach. He just recently gave his first TEDx talk down in Wilmington, Delaware, and it's called Moving from Comfort to Calling. Exchange your comfort for your calling. So Justin and I will dig into that. He'll talk about his near-death experience, and we will explore the power of mindset and why it's so important for you to monitor your mindset and have a strategy to move it into a more positive direction so you can lead a much more resilient and fulfilling life. So let's get ready with my guest, Dr. Justin Moseley. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of our Back to Life podcast. This is season 2, episode 19, as I mentioned in our intro, and I'm very, very excited to have with me today, with all of us, our guest, Dr. Justin Moseley. Justin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think the content will be very, very beneficial. I know it will for the audience and for me as well. You and I got together probably in this last year, and we met in Nashville a few times and just had some great conversations. So it's cool. But listen, I know you've been up to, you gave a TED Talk recently, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. I mean, I remember 12 years ago watching Simon Sinek's TEDx talk, and to actually be on that stage and give that talk was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And my title of the talk was How to Experience More in Life, Lessons from My Near-Death Accident. So to be able to share that message with people, it was a great feeling.
I love that. Down in the wonderful metropolis of Wilmington, Delaware, where I spent a lot of years working there. Tell the audience a little bit about that near-death experience that you had.
Yeah, so it was back in 2018. I was on a whitewater rafting accident. So we got up to the class 5 rapids, and the raft flipped over, and I was in the back of the raft, and I got trapped underneath the rapid, and it started pushing me underwater. And I still remember the sound of my helmet scraping down the rocks as I was being pushed further underwater. And the last thing I remember thinking was, I'm not coming back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything went black, and then everything went bright white. And it was the most peaceful, serene feeling I'd ever felt. And I lost consciousness at that point. And then I don't know how long it was, but eventually I heard a voice that said, wake up. And thankfully I did, because when I came back to consciousness, I was trapped underwater, wedged between 2 rocks. And I tried to push, and I didn't budge. And I pushed and I pushed and I kept pushing, trying to free myself. Nothing happened. And then the panic set in. Yeah. And then thankfully my adrenaline kicked in, and I was able to push hard enough. I broke the buckle on my life jacket, was able to float to the top just in time to gasp for breath, and then got swept down the river. And obviously going through something like that, I was rocked, shaken up. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then as I began to process that, a lot of lessons were revealed to me for sure.
Yeah. What was that voice that said, wake up? So what was it, a person, a voice, or where'd that come from?
Yeah. And for me, I'm a believer. So for me, it was God speaking to me. That's what I feel that was, but it was more of like an inner knowing.
Yes.
Like that still small voice. It was like a whisper, and enough to jar me and wake me back into consciousness. But yeah, it wasn't like it was an audible voice, but it was just this inner knowing, wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I love that. You and I talked about it. I had a guy on, a friend of mine now, Bill Bennett, that did a really cool documentary called Intuition. And Bill had a similar experience driving down the road early one morning, headed to the airport, and he heard a voice say, slow down, as he approached a green light. And he thought, what is that? And he accelerated because he wanted to make the green light, and it said, slow down again. And he did, and a tractor trailer blew through the intersection that would have killed him.
Wow. Yeah.
So that sat with him. Yeah, it's a really cool documentary. Yeah, we had him on the podcast as well. So that's good. I'm glad that voice said that to you, because like you, I'm a believer as well. And I think that there's an energy inside of us a spiritual energy, a divine energy that we must pay attention to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of paying attention, I mean, I think God, our intuition, it's always speaking to us. Will we be quiet enough to listen? And I
Oh,
think that's the part. We're so busy these days, what we have to do and the agendas that we have.
sure.
We'll spend the time listening.
Sure. Yeah. And I think it's a combination of that for sure, right? One of the principles of Jackrabbit I talk about is to be still.
Yeah.
And even this morning, I just posted and I said, life will give you signs. Keep an eye out for the signs. So I go to the gym and I see this woman and she looks at me and I'm looking at her and she says, "You Danny Bader?" I said, "Yeah." "Are you Pam?" And it turns out that her cousin and I were really good friends growing up and he's a yoga master now. And I saw on Facebook that he was doing some work down in Costa Rica. And I've been thinking about getting back into yoga, right? But I'm like, I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should. And here I have this conversation and he's there. And I'm like, well, there's my message to get back into yoga, So I think those signs show up at all different levels. They really do. They do.
Yeah,
so you have this accident, you come back and you were a chiropractor, right, by trade.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And my wife's a chiropractor as well. And
Yeah.
we were living a good life. Business was good. We were helping people. We were making a difference. I was living my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But then when that happened, not only was it a wake up call in that moment, it was a wake up call for my life. And it really made me realize that, yes, I was living my purpose, but I was playing way too small. I knew I was called to make a bigger impact and to help more people. And what I realized was I had settled and I had gotten comfortable. And I knew if I truly wanted to step into the calling that was on my life, I needed to exchange my comfort for my calling.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of your keynote is to exchange comfort for calling.
Yeah. And that's what because not only for me, there's so many other people around me. I looked around, I was like, man, how many other people have settled?
Yeah.
Got to their own comfort zone and they need to exchange the comfort for their calling.
Yeah. Why do people settle? Why do they just settle into that comfort?
One is the ease. I mean, think about the comfort food. It's easy. It makes us feel good. And I shared a framework in my TEDx talk is when the first ring, after you step out of your comfort zone, you step into the fear zone.
Right.
And that's when you hear all the fear, the worry, the anxiety, the doubt shows up. And we start hearing those voices in our head. You can't do it. You're not smart enough. You don't know enough. You're not worthy enough. So a lot of times we get paralyzed in that fear zone and it's enough to overtake us. And it's like, you know what? It shouldn't feel like this. It's too uncomfortable. I'm just going to go back to my comfort zone. And people just give up way too easily.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to push them or challenge them to move from that comfort into their calling. And how do you define calling? What does that look like for somebody?
Yeah. For me, I define it as your calling is the driving force that will pull you out of your comfort zone. And again, in my framework, I said there's different zones coming out of your comfort zone, but the calling is that driving force that will pull you through and keep you from shrinking back. And I believe your calling is a mixture of your mission, your vision, and your purpose.
Right.
And when your mission, your vision, your purpose are big enough, then your calling is big enough to be that driving force that will pull you out of your comfort zone.
Right. Right. So are you still practicing as a chiropractor?
No, I walked away from that completely. I do the speaking, the coaching full time. My wife runs that business now and she's loving it. And this is my mission, my purpose to help impact people.
I love it. I love it. So your work is, you and I have talked a lot, and I think anybody in our line of work that are supporting people to a next level of their life, either if things are good and they want them to be a lot better, or if things are shitty and they're caught in the struggle and they want to move through that. It all comes back to this word mindset, right? I guess that was first pioneered. I always think I was connected to Carol Dweck and that book that she wrote back in, I guess, early 2000s or something. Yep. When did you first hear of this thing called mindset? What do you think it is?
Yeah, for me, it actually came. I read my first Tony Robbins book. I got it here, Awaken the Giant Within, when I was 16. And that opened my mind up to, man, if we change our minds, we can change our life.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to settle for the way it is now.
Right.
And that really put me on the path of personal growth, personal development, and really diving into that and I've seen it. One, I'm a product of my own. I am a product of my own product. Like I've done the work myself and I've seen what happens when you do this work. So that's why I want to give it to others, because I know people are their potential is so much more than what they give themselves credit for.
Sure.
If they can really overcome the mindset blocks, they can accomplish so much more in their lives.
Yeah, they really can, right? They can. How do you define mindset? If you just had to define that word.
Yeah, I think one of the easiest ways to look at it is just in the word mindset. Where is your mindset?
Mm-hmm.
What you focus on expands, and where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like positive thinking. I mean, yes, we should think positively. And one thing I learned from Tony Robbins years ago, just positive thinking is like going out into your flower bed that's full of weeds and saying, oh, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. No, there is weeds. That's the reality. We need to rip the weeds out, plant new flowers, and watch it grow.
Yeah.
So for a concept that I like to teach is, instead of positive thinking, it's positive expectation.
Mm-hmm.
It's going through our day just knowing that God's going to bless us and good things are coming our way.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about a kid on Christmas, they wake up excited about what's to come. They know, oh, I can't wait to go and look at the presents that are under the tree.
Yeah.
What if you went through each day positively expecting great things to happen?
Yeah.
If you shifted your mind and did that every single day, positive things, great things are going to happen every single day for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I just, as a matter of fact, this morning, I just read, somebody sent me an article. My sister, as a matter of fact, Wall Street Journal, I think, it's called In Praise of Anxiety. And it's a really good article on reframing anxiety and the connection with, now, sometimes anxiety needs to have professional treatment, right? And may even need some medication. So I'm not discounting that. And the research was talking about anxiety is often the vision, right? Vision is the ability for us to imagine something that needs to be real. Yep. Anxiety is the imagining of something that's going to go wrong, something that's going to be painful, something that's going to be bad. But when you think about it, it hasn't even happened yet. So what he's talking about is, how can we reframe that vision and think of more positive outcomes available for us, even when there's difficult situations, right? I mean, you and I talked about my fourth book, Taking the Shit Out of the Show, is just that. The shit show are the brutal facts of struggle and life. And we got to acknowledge those facts. Moving through it, right, by what you're talking about, Justin, by seeing yourself through it, by seeing the actions that you need to take, and getting through to the other side, which is a more joyful experience, a better place. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I get chills when you saying that, because I actually shared that in my TED Talk as well, because the mind can't tell the difference in something that's real versus something that's vividly imagined.
That's it.
So I talked about, we all have those situations. We think about something that's coming up, and we start to think about all the things that can go wrong. And we start to worry about it and build up this anxiety. And a lot of times we get to that situation and we realize, wow, that wasn't bad at all. Like, why did I get so worked up about it?
Sure.
But that's what we do. We work ourselves up. And Mark Twain actually has a quote: I lived a life of many troubles. Most of them never happened.
Yeah.
And it's because we all make these stories in our head. But instead of, and I shared this in the TED Talk, instead of thinking that all the things that could go wrong, what if you think of all the things that could go right?
Yeah.
You start to get excited about it instead of worried about it.
Sure. And the anxiety that the doctor talks about, you're still going to have that level of energy, that your heart's pumping and your blood's racing, right? And your eyesight is more aware, and that's all good. That's getting you ready to step up and do a killer TED Talk. You know what I mean? A really strong TED Talk. That's getting you ready to go run a really strong race. That's getting you ready to enter into a difficult conversation with your partner, maybe. So it's okay. It's not like you're going to walk around chilled out all the time. The body gets worked up sometimes to face challenge. Just as you said, see a positive outcome on the other side of that challenge. I think it's really important.
Yeah. And speaking of that, it's like, because I've studied being a doctor, I've studied a lot of the physiology of the body, and there is barely any difference in a chemical level when your body feels anxiety or if it feels excitement.
Yeah.
It still feels the same to us.
Wow.
But in our mind, it depends on what story we create. Are we feeling this energy and we're getting scared because I'm about to go present? Or am I feeling this energy because I'm excited about the lives that I'm going to change?
Right.
If we just change the perspective of what that energy means, it changes everything.
Right. And I'm sure when we're having that negative thought, the cortisol is released from our brain, right? Which is more of the stressor.
Right.
As opposed to, a serotonin or an oxytocin or endorphins, something that we still feel like we're wrapped tight.
Yes.
And in this side, we're ready to go kick ass. And
in
this side, we're just holding on in fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Good insight. What are the benefits of holding on to what do you say? People should have a strong mindset, positive mindset, useful. How do you describe it?
Yeah. I mean, definitely positive over negative for sure. But then I think it's more of being able to just control your thoughts, because I do think if you change your mind, you can change your life.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen at a conscious level. It's not just changing the way I think short term. It has to be a change at the subconscious level, because it's our subconscious programming that it controls our thoughts, our behaviors, and the way that we act.
Yeah.
And a good way to look at it, there's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. And that's our filter that shows us what to focus on. So for you guys listening right now, you're not thinking about what's going on in your left foot. But if I say focus on your left foot, oh yeah, I can feel it. I can wiggle my toes. Your brain filters it out or lets you see it if you focus on it. So short term, you can think of, hey, I want to buy this new car. And then you drive down the road and you start seeing that car everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's your reticular activating system is your short-term program. But what about your long-term program? That's your subconscious. So what if you could program your long-term program to start seeing the things, seeing the opportunities, bringing you those connections, like you're going to see Pam at the gym, like all these things can start coming if you start to reprogram the subconscious mind. So that's what I do a lot of work with is, well, not only do we change our conscious thoughts, because our thoughts lead to behaviors, which leads to our results.
Right.
How do we retrain our subconscious mind? Because 90% of our day is unconscious.
Yeah.
We wake up the same way. We grab our phones. We go brush our teeth. We eat breakfast. We drive to work the same way. We do the same routine unconsciously. So we have to change the unconscious programs and actually program them for a greater level of success.
So how does somebody do that? How do they monitor their mindset? You know, what are some things they can start to do to say, okay, I understand what mindset is. I understand that it's powerful. How do I even start to get an assessment of where mine is? How do I monitor it?
Absolutely. Well, step one, just know your thoughts create your behaviors, which create your actions, which create your results. So ultimately, your beliefs are underlying from that. But whatever you're thinking is how you're going to act. So step one is just being aware of your thoughts. Most of our thoughts are unconscious. Somebody cuts us off. We unconsciously, either we get upset with them or we let it go. So step back. When a thing happens, step back and say, what am I thinking right now? And what does this mean? Giving ourselves the space, which I love that you talk about giving yourself space, and just consciously process your thoughts. Why am I thinking this? Because then you can catch the thought. If all of a sudden I'm getting mad at this guy that cut me off. Well, it doesn't affect him at all, but what it does to me, it affects my energy. And wherever I'm going, I'm going to show up. I'm still going to be mad, and it's going to affect the rest of my day. Instead, I can catch that thought. You know what? That didn't mean anything. I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to focus back to the positive side of things. So just being aware is the biggest thing you can do, because most of the day we're unaware of what we're even thinking.
Yeah. You know, you just reminded me of a good thing. The events, right, that happen, the activating event, the guy cuts you off in traffic, or whatever the event is, your spouse says something to you. Our thoughts are really the meaning we're given to that, right?
Yeah. So it has no meaning until we give them the meaning.
Exactly. So we could say, that guy's a knucklehead and he's causing danger and whatever else. Or we could just sit back and go, I have no idea what's going on in that person's life. Maybe they're a knucklehead. Maybe they're in a hurry to go, it's to visit somebody in a hospital. So let me just back off and create a safer environment for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all the story that we give it. And it is looking for those things too, because it could be that he cut you off to slow you down because that tractor trailer is coming over, like the guy that you mentioned earlier. So it's like, you never know what the meaning is. So be careful what meaning you're giving to it.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I like that. It's just being more conscious. And that's why I think, do you meditate? Do you slow down and do anything?
Yes. Yeah. So, and that's been a game changer for me, because I was the guy that I'm too busy to meditate, because I wanted to achieve success, and it was all about striving, and I need to go. And I realized, and there's a saying in meditation that if you don't have 20 minutes to meditate, you need to meditate for 2 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're that stressed. But once I started to slow down, then I realized you don't solve the problems in the moment. When you're trying to solve a business challenge or whatever you're doing, one, because I like the science behind it, we're in beta brainwaves all day when we're go, go, go. And when you shift into meditation or just calming your breathing, you shift into that alpha brainwaves. And that's where the ideas and the creative ability starts to kick in. And that's when you can actually solve your problems in the time that you give yourself space.
Yeah.
That's why we give ideas in the shower, because we can't go do things. We have to just kind of be present with our thoughts right there.
Yeah.
And you look at all the greats like Leonardo da Vinci, Ben Franklin, Henry Ford, a lot of their ideas came like in the middle of the day. They would take a nap and they'd wake up and have this creative idea.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because they gave themselves the space. And that's what meditation does for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I remember the woman that wrote Harry Potter. I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. Gosh.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, J.K. Rowling, thanks. I remember reading an article where she was just on a train going across the London countryside, kind of staring out the window. And then these ideas about this boy wizard started to, fill, and the lightning bolt in the head, and, and off she goes. So, yeah, I think it's good. The other thing with meditation, you and I both know, I just want to make sure the audience gets that, is should they understand what you and I are offering them that says, hey, man, your life is lived between your ears. All the voices in your head, all the stories you're telling you about the world outside of you really have an impact on what you move through and what you construct. And you're going so fast. Meditation now allows you to come more face to face with those thoughts, so to speak. And that's what it does for me.
Oh,
so
yeah.
People think meditation is I'm going to sit there and think about nothing. And
right.
In some case you get to that point, but it's only after some time and some practice. People say, I'm no good at meditation. I said, well, don't put judgment on it. But, what do you do well? And they say, well, I can hit a golf ball pretty well. I'm like, great. First time you ever hit one, did it work? Well, not really. Repetition. So it's the ability for you to realize that you're not your thoughts. You're just the thinker of them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And these thoughts I'm thinking are not serving me well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I think most people give up on meditation, because they do think like I'm supposed to sit here with no thoughts.
Right.
And because I can't do that, I must not be able to meditate.
Right.
Well, no, it is a practice. And that's why they call it a meditation practice. You are practicing becoming aware of your thoughts. Yeah. And that's one of the things I notice it helps with meditation. Let's say if you did it in the morning or whenever you do it, prepares you for the day. So then you go and you get cut off by that guy in traffic. You are more aware of your thoughts. Absolutely. And it helps you throughout your day.
Oh, it does. That is so key, man. I hope everybody hears that, right? Meditation, boom, I sit, I lower my heart rate, lower my respiration, become more conscious of my thoughts, all those benefits. Yes. And it's not over, because now you've conditioned your mind to learn to pause in that space when you're out there and the proverbial shit hits the fan. Now you have the ability to pause and go, wait, what? Like you said, I always use the acronym WAIT, W-A-I-T. What am I thinking? You said that phrase once, but I like to give people that acronym so they can remember. Wait, what am I thinking right now? Is it useful? Is it going to put me into an emotional state where I do what I need to do? That's great. Yeah. That is good.
And one of the hardest things, I'm sure you see this with people too, is because there is no instant gratification. We're so used to that. Like if I'm hungry, I go eat, it solves that problem. Like people don't come out of meditation and automatically feel something. So I don't know if this is working, or if I'm doing the mindset work to change my thoughts, I don't really feel it in the moment.
Right.
So people give up on it, and they don't realize like it's not the next strategy that you're trying to implement. It's the actual mindset work that matters. And if you put the time, you invest the time there, the strategies, the systems, the business will work.
Yeah. My mom, I love her dearly. And my dad too, they're both alive. Thank God. My mom's 84, 92. And when I wrote my first book, Back to Life with the Jackrabbit Principles, you and I have discussed, and, I didn't invent them. It's just my spin on them. And you and I have, we're kind of kindred spirits in that space. Yeah. But I remember my mom said, Daniel, that principle, be still. She said, I don't know. I just sit there and my mind keeps going and then nothing happens. What should I do? And I say, keep doing it, Mom. Keep doing it. I don't know where she is. She's a big woman of prayer, so that's her meditation, to slow down
and something that helped me too, because I was skeptical. Like I said, I was too busy to meditate. Yeah, I was actually going through the airport and I saw Dan Harris's book, 10% Happier. And then he also wrote Diary of a Fidgety Skeptic. Like his take on, I was fidgety doing meditation. I didn't want to do it, but he shares this story. He was on World News Tonight, one of the lead anchors, and had a panic attack on air.
Yeah.
And he talked about being on cocaine and all these things because it was such a high stress job, and meditation changed his life. So it's cool for me to hear him because he was skeptical about meditation. He was so high performance driven, but for him, investing the time changed everything for him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very powerful. Be still and know. So here's the deal. This was great content. I appreciate it. Before we'll wrap up in a couple of minutes, but since we're talking right now, Monday, I'm going to speak to some high school seniors, and I'll bring some of my story and I'll bring some of the jackrabbit there. How do you get this message across to high school seniors?
Yeah, it's tough for the same reason of people don't believe it's the mindset.
Yeah.
When you're kids, like the only thing important to you is the next baseball game or football game or the thing that's coming up next.
Sure.
They're not looking at the future and what they're going to create.
Yeah.
And from my own experience, 16 years old, Tony Robbins' book changed my life.
Yeah.
So that's the potential that you have, that they're going to take a piece of what you say and they're going to remember it for the rest of their lives. So that's what's cool about it. And I wish this stuff was taught in schools.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is the most important part.
Yeah.
And even for me, like back then, in high school, I was shy. I was introverted. I couldn't speak to a group of people, small group, let alone a large audience. So if you would have came and said, one day you're going to speak on a TEDx stage, I would have said, there's no way.
Yeah.
In fact, I got to college and almost failed a speech class because I almost had a panic attack while I was giving my speech.
Sure.
That's how bad it was. And I created a story that said, I can never speak. You should just give this up. This is not for you. And I believed that for a while.
Yeah.
But I knew the calling was there, that I wanted to impact people and change lives. So I knew I had to overcome that fear.
Yeah.
So by you speaking into them early, that they can, if they believe in themselves and they overcome those fears. And I think not only for them, for everybody listening, knowing you're not alone when you have those voices in your head saying you shouldn't do this, like you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. We all have that.
Sure.
Just understand that if you overcome that and not believe it, not believe the lie, then you can overcome it and actually have impact in other people's lives and change lives and make a difference in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And I love that, the positive thinking. I talk about that as well, that, positive thinking is not the elimination of the facts.
Yeah.
Positive thinking is seeing yourself dealing with them, seeing yourself getting the support you need, seeing yourself coming out of this, seeing yourself better on the other side, with more growth. So I think that's really cool. Yeah. Anything else, man, you want to drop on the audience here before you get out?
Man, I would love support with my TEDx talk. Okay. So I would love for you to go check that out on YouTube, TEDx, Dr. Justin Moseley, lessons from my near-death experience. And because I do believe it's a message that will help people step out of their comfort zone and just really go for it. Yeah. And go bigger. Because the reality is, this is real life. It's not a dress rehearsal. We get one shot at this thing, and you're not doing the world any favors by playing small.
That's it.
Let's go bigger. And yes, please go check that out on YouTube, and feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Dr. Justin Moseley.
Okay, cool. Is that the best place for them to find you? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, or I have a free Facebook group, the Mindset Doctor Community. Feel free to join that as well.
Okay, that sounds good. And you got a website as well?
Yep, drjustinmoseley.com.
They could find out if anybody's interested in following you or bring you in for a good keynote.
Absolutely, yeah. Cool. Keynote or coaching, anything like that. Just connect with me there.
TED Talk will be out when? We're right now on May. What's today? May 15th or something like that. 14th? Yeah,
so it should be within the next couple weeks.
Okay,
it should be out. So
So by end of May 2022, not quite sure, this may come up in June here. Make sure you go out there and you take a look. Dr. Justin Moseley, his TED Talk from Wilmington, Delaware. Yeah. That's cool. So Justin, before we sign off and say goodbye to the audience, you're having a cup of coffee or beer or glass of wine with somebody, and you're never going to see this person again. And they say to you, hey, Justin, what are two or three principles that I should really stay aware of in life that will serve me well? What would you say?
Yeah, I think most people, one, they stop dreaming. They stop having goals. But when they do set goals, They set them based on what they think that they can accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And my challenge to people is make a goal so big that you need God to help you achieve it. Like for me, I want to do something so big that people look at me and say, that had to be God, because there's no way that he could do it.
Got it.
So because
dream big.
Yeah. So with you aligned with God, and you can do far more than you think that you can do. So that's one, but then it's also, you got to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And so think about somebody you believe in. When somebody you look up to, if they were in your situation, they would come in, they would handle this situation with no problem. Well, what if you believed in yourself as much as you believe in them? And the reality is, at one point in time, they were in your situation and they had the same stories in their head. They had the same doubts and the challenges, but they didn't believe the lies. They overcame it. So borrow the belief, the same belief you would believe in them. What if you believed in yourself? And then the flip side, there's people right now that believe in you. What about your kids? If you have kids, your kids believe in you. They think you can do anything. Or maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's your family members or close friends that they believe in you. What if you believed in yourself as much as they believe in you? And start to borrow that belief and start to believe in yourself, because then you can accomplish anything.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Good. So be bold with your vision and believe in yourself for sure. That's cool. Absolutely. Well, Justin, listen, man, I wish you all the best. You're doing some great work out there and our world needs it. I'm certain that people listening today, our audience, got some value out of this. I look forward to our paths crossing again. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. And yeah, we'll connect soon.
You got it. You got it. All right, everybody. Well, listen, thanks a lot. So be sure to get out there and comment and share and like this episode of our Back to Life podcast. And until next time, just remember to focus on creating a lot of happiness and resilience and fulfillment for yourselves and the people that you love, because after all, that's why we're here. Take care.